wait for someone before starting.
Are we all ready? Okay, good afternoon. I'm under Sheriff Pat Ivey. I appreciate y'all coming out. I kind of wish it was under better circumstances. But yesterday afternoon, about 4:50 in the afternoon, officers responded to 4923 West University Boulevard in reference to a dispute between first day employee at the bar and management. At the end of that incident, the first day employee was asked to leave, refused to do so, and was arrested for trespass after warning and resisting officers with violence. A short time later, she was transported to the jail, and I think you guys should have a copy of her docket. Do they?
No, but that's probably not.
Okay. She was transported to jail, and upon being in the Sally Port, she approached one of the original arresting officers. He then physically restrained her, and during the restraint, she, while handcuffed, attempted to kick him, and he proceeded to strike her multiple times. So that employee is 1-year veteran, 26-year-old Akiyemi Borisade. Like I say, he was hired March 15th or March 2nd of 2015. He is a probationary police officer, and he has been arrested and charged with battery on her. He has also been terminated, his employment here with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and he is a probationary employee, so therefore he does not have civil service protections. So I will take a few questions.
How long is probation does she run for?
I think it's 18 months now, once they're out of training.
How can you describe to us how his beating of her, or however you want to characterize it, is different than a proper way to restrain a prisoner who's maybe attacking you or striking you?
I probably couldn't give you a statement that would cover all possible scenarios. We are actually going to provide you a copy of the video that shows the incident. Again, she's handcuffed. There are ways that this could have been dealt with without striking her.
Can you elaborate? We haven't seen the video yet, but can you elaborate about what's on the video?
You will see her standing in the Sally Port. You will see a couple other defendants being waited to be admitted. You'll see a couple police officers, including the subject officer and a couple others. You will see her walk over in the direction of the officer and other officers because they're kind of standing together. You will see him take her and in a backwardly direction, her walking backwards up against the wall. You will see her attempt to kick him once, a miss, kick him again, and then you will see him strike her multiple times.
Were there other officers, I'm assuming, that were on scene with
Yes, there
him?
were.
What did they do in response?
You had one officer that walked over to him, and you can tell he puts his hand on the subject officer's arm. There's no audio, but the subject officer then at that point lets go of her because he's got her in a position after striking her that she's bent over, and you can't see it's from his back where he has a hold of her, and then he just lets go and walks back over to the location where he was originally at. So the corrections officers actually notified the sworn personnel, the police officers, supervisor who responded, and then the normal channels through our integrity and internal units got involved.
What, has he had any problems in the past?
He is a probationary employee, and he has an unblemished record before now.
How should he have reacted to her trying to kick him? And what is the protocol there for?
He could have turned her around and held her in a transporting position that they are trained in, back over to the location to wait by the door. He could have stood there with her, but there was no need to strike her.
Can you say what her employment as far as what her job was?
Hers?
other than an employee?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Did he know her to the hospital or anything?
Say it again.
Did she have to be transported to the
No,
hospital?
she did not.
Did he know her?
There's nothing to say that they knew each other.
Does
other
she
than
have
this.
the rights to, and maybe this is, to press any sort of charges, or can you speak to that?
Her?
Yes.
So how it works is he is being criminally charged with battery. She is the listed victim.
Okay, can you say that without beating the podium?
Oh, got you messed your sound up there? He is the suspect for the simple battery, and she is the listed victim.
And I don't want to disparage the sheriff's office, but there's probably, by people who are locked up, rumors always out there that I'm mistreated in jail. Would you say this is an indicator that if something bad does happen in jail with a prisoner, that you guys do take it seriously?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This thing, she didn't report this. It was dealt with immediately. The chain of events is the investigation took until this morning. I can even tell you I was on the phone until 1 o'clock this morning in reference to this, and then they still had some interviews to do because, as you will see in the video, there are several people in the Sally Port. Then the decision was made, and we conferred with the state attorney, and here we are.
Has he said anything about why he did act the way he did?
I'm not going to comment on his statement.
Where did this actually happen?
When?
When?
About a little after 6 p.m. last night.
6 p.m. last night. And what bar was the first,
The first incident was at Scores Bar, 4923 West University Boulevard.
He said where she was struck on her body?
You'll be able to tell. It happens kind of fast and from the angle of the camera, but it is at least in the chest, abdomen, shoulder, neck, head area in this. It looks like it's in this region here.
And were they punches, or can you say,
They're hand strikes.
Can you describe what kind of police officer he was? You said he's a patrol officer?
That's like a major generalized question there. What do you mean? Patrol. He's patrolman.
Yeah.
He's patrolman. He has been out on his own riding solo for 2 months.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Does he have any opportunity to appeal the termination? Yes.
So when you're on probation, he doesn't have those civil service privileges. What he is afforded is what's called a name-clearing hearing. And what that does is it affords him the opportunity to come in and at least clear his name so he can, because you're talking beyond his employment with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, you're talking about his police certificate. And that would be dealt with the commission in Tallahassee. So he's afforded the opportunity here to do a name-clearing hearing, and then all that is then provided to the commission.
Sorry, so the commission in Tallahassee?
Yes, it's the Law Enforcement Commission.
So his hearing would be with them or with JSO?
He doesn't have, he's not allowed, you mean a hearing for a
The
certificate?
name clearing hearing, who's the agency?
He has the hearing with us, and they are provided all details of the arrest and booking report, the final write-up summation, everything that we can provide to them for them to make a very advised decision in reference to a certificate.
Did he have any prior law enforcement experience?
I have no idea.
Any other questions? And he's worked with JSO for a little over a year now.
March 2nd, 2015 hire date.
All right.
Yep, thank you.
Can we ask you about the JFRD officer that was arrested?
Chris, you get on that side since your mic's on that side.
Is everybody here that's supposed to be here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You stand there.
Good.
Sheriff, I know that the first thing that people want to know, because we didn't hear from you yesterday,
Right.
is when you saw that video, what did you think?
Well, obviously it was inappropriate. We've set a level of professionalism in the agency that we're going to work to maintain. So responding to an incident like that the way we did, I think, sends a message not only inside the organization but to the community that we don't tolerate that type of activity. And again, we've set that bar for professionalism, and we're going to work hard to make sure that we all maintain that.
Can you clarify for us, those who were standing around, I understand they weren't JSO officers, at least not all of them.
Well, we're still looking at that. Not all of them were, and we're still looking into that and that whole aspect of the investigation. Obviously, we dealt with the direct officer directly involved first, but that's part of the ongoing investigation that we're continuing to look at.
So that was a CSO officer, that That's what it looked like to me, like one of those officers who I was wondering, what would they even be doing at the jail anyway?
No, I'm not sure. I can't confirm because I don't know at this point who some of those other people were, what agencies they work for, but that'll be part of the investigation. And we'll release that as soon as we get to that point.
And can you talk about that second video that everybody has now? Because it looks just as bad.
Right. I mean, we made our decision based on what we saw from the jail video. Obviously, that first video it gives me a lot of concern as well. And there is an investigation ongoing now surrounding the first video. So we're, again, looking at all this and being very proactive in addressing it and, in dealing with the officers involved.
Sheriff, you've asked the community to help you with crime in certain neighborhoods.
Right.
But people are watching this video and they're seeing your officers stand around a very obvious crime in your own house. So what do you say to the community when they're looking at that and they're not congruent?
Well, I'll say this. I tell you, I think it's important to note that when we see the video or when we saw the video, that we acted on it. I think it's important to note that officers in that area are the ones that brought that to our attention, that incident to our attention, and we responded to it appropriately. And we are still looking into and digging into who those officers were that were standing around. Did they work for our agency? Do they not? The officers that were there, what vantage point were they at? Could they see everything that we can see on the video? So all that's under investigation. I think it's important that we look at all of that, and we are. So as soon as we dig into all that and get the details and really get to the bottom of that, we'll be able to talk about it more.
Let me ask you, is there a law enforcement standard, just kind of over the board, that says if you see something like that happening, you've got to step in and just say, let's take a step back and reevaluate?
I think more and more, absolutely, short answer to your question. I think more and more it's important for officers all around the country to do that, to really weigh in and respond. Listen, if something's illegal and something's not happening that's appropriate, everybody has a duty to step in and address it. Not just a supervisor, but a fellow officer to step in and address that, stop that behavior, and then report that behavior to the supervisor. So we talk that a lot and preach that a lot at JSO. So we want to make sure that that's happening.
Sheriff, just to clarify, yesterday JSO said, when asked about the officers or whoever they are standing around yesterday, witnessing a crime does not constitute a crime. Are you saying if they are JSO officers that it would have been okay for them to stand by it and just watch it?
No, absolutely not. And that statement didn't come from me. I can tell you this. If there are officers who are committing a crime and someone sees that, they have a duty to report that, a duty to intervene. All of that is in effect. So, again, as we dig further into this over the next several days and weeks and determine who was involved and who saw what, then we can take action on officers if we need to, based on what we believe they saw at the scene that day.
So if they are JSO officers, action will be taken?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if we determine that they were in a position to see the things that we can see on the video and they work for us and we decide that, look, there should have been a point where somebody intervened and they didn't, then that's a step that we can take to intervene and address it with those officers, absolutely.
Who else could they possibly be if they're not JSO officers in that holding area?
Well, there could be other law enforcement organizations that use our jail. So those officers could work for those other agencies and not work for me. So
What does your policy manual say
about
intervening? I mean, I've talked to former officers and current
Right.
folks that say this is not just a duty, but actual part of a policy.
Absolutely. I mean, you always have a duty to intervene, especially when it comes to the reporting of crime. So we're going to that's part of when we have an incident like this. We look at this thing top to bottom to make sure the policy is clear for everybody, that we all understand it, that it's written clearly enough, that people are observing it. Obviously, we'll take this opportunity as we finish the investigation to really use this as a teaching moment for many of the other officers in the agency that weren't involved. But again, talk about it openly inside the organization and set that expectation for all the officers that this is what we expect from you on the street every single day.
So can you clarify again? So that comment yesterday about you see a crime, you don't have to report it. So that you're saying that didn't come from JSO?
No, I did not say that. I don't know who that came from. It didn't come from me, is what I said. So if an officer sees a crime, he absolutely has an obligation to intervene and to address that.
I know this is under investigation, but since we have that first video now,
Right.
shouldn't that have been reported prior to that incident happening, that they have had somebody that they had to beat, and shouldn't there have been a supervisor or somebody called, at least at that point, to the Sally Port?
Well, there's a lot of things that should have happened, and we are looking into whether or not they did happen or not. Use of force reports should be written, those type of things. Supervisors called, if certain things happen. So that's part of the investigation that we're looking at today. At this point, I don't know. I mean, that's what we're looking at. So as we dig into it, we'll know more.
Sheriff, this officer was arrested in the past. yet he got hired at JSO. How does that happen?
Well, I can tell you that we look at, all of those issues as we bring people on, and we have an event like this. We're going to look back and see where in the system, did we fail in the system, or is this where we were giving a guy an opportunity, maybe he made a dumb mistake years ago, and we were giving him an opportunity to correct that, or he did correct it, and we were giving him an opportunity for employment. But we'll look at that as well. Again, as we get through the nuts and bolts and the meat of this investigation, we'll look back at and see, did we miss anything in the hiring practice? Did we miss anything in the process? Was anything skipped? And should he have never been hired in the first place? Again, a question that we'll not answer today, but we'll be able to answer at some point.
Can you tell me, this is sort of early in your term, and you're kind of trying to take these types of issues head on.
Sure.
You got to be frustrated because there's a lot of people in the community that say, how are we going to clean up certain areas of town if the House of JSO is behaving this way?
Sure. And look, that's fair, but I can tell you this is one officer, of over 1,600 that we have. And my gut tells me that these officers, 99% of them are out doing a good job for this community every single day. And when we see an officer do something like this, we have to respond quickly. We are accountable to the community for how these officers act. They are accountable for their actions. And I think to that person who would say that, I think you have to look at the fact that we responded the way we did, as quickly as we did, as transparently as we did, and we're going to continue to do that through this whole investigation. So you're right. I mean, we take these things very seriously, and we look to correct them as quickly as we can.
So you're saying it's not a black eye for the agency?
Oh, absolutely it's a black eye for the agency, but I think we can overcome it. I think the fact that we respond to it appropriately is important.
What's
Did
the
you talk
timeline?
to him? Have you talked to the officer?
No, I did not. I did not speak to the officer.
What's the timeline on the investigation? When do you expect to be able to give some of these details?
Well, typically it could be a couple of weeks or a month, depending on what we uncover as we dig deeper into it. So as soon as we have more information, we'll be releasing it and updating everybody on the investigation.
Is there a mugshot that's going to be released in this?
I don't know as of yet. We'll find out.
Is there a reason why it wouldn't?
No, there's no reason why it wouldn't. So
Of the officer?
officers, yeah.
Did he sign the waiver?
Yeah.
So we won't.
Yeah, it could be a public records issue. So.
How quickly did those other guys report what happened? Was it, minutes after what happened, or?
Well, that's what we're looking into now. I don't know the answer to that. So there should be not necessarily minutes, but there's documentation that has to happen anytime you use force in the agency. So we should have written reports. Those reports are obviously all time-stamped and entered into our system. So we will know when they reported it. We will know what they said on those reports. All those reports should match the arrest and booking report. In other words, the documented facts of the case should all be the same. One thing about the truth is it never changes. So all of those things should be consistent, and that's what we're looking at now.
In the dash cam video, the officer hit her approximately a dozen times before she got cuffed. What is appropriate to get someone cuffed if they're fighting? Now, they're not necessarily being violent, but they're fighting.
Right.
Where's the line?
Well, fighting is being violent, but I can tell you this. I think that we have our level is enough force to overcome the resistance. So as you look at a video like that, you look at what point could that officer overcome that resistance, and at what point has he crossed the line, being aggressive. Listen, sometimes you have to get aggressive with people. It's not inappropriate for officers to punch people at certain times, but obviously there's got to be a lot of factors in place for that to happen. And in that case, clearly I have concerns in watching that video, and that's part of that ongoing investigation.
So did he cross the line in the dash cam video?
Oh, I think he did. But again, the investigation we'll get into detail about that, and we'll be able to resolve that piece.
Has that dash cam person, that citizen, reached out to you guys and provided you with that video?
I think we have a copy. I'm not sure. And I don't know that we've had any interaction with the party that took the video. We would, as part of this investigation, want to reach out and talk to them, obviously. But I don't know that we have a copy of the video, and I don't know that we haven't. But I can't confirm that we've talked to that individual.
Important, though, to your investigation?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. I think it's important for them to weigh in.
Does it concern you from a timeline perspective that, if that is in fact the right officer and the right woman, and
right.
that happened before the Sally Port scene and whatnot, that there wouldn't have been a trigger between those two instances that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, to your point, I think should something have happened after the parking lot incident, and that's what we're looking at now. When did supervision know? When were the appropriate reports written? All of that would have maybe triggered an investigation on that incident without the dash cam video. So that's part of what we're looking at surrounding the parking lot incident.
So is this another incident that says and suggests that body cameras should be mandatory for JSO.
You know, I think this is a good example of what a body cam can provide. So, and I've said before, look, I'm in favor of body cameras. We've got some serious budget issues in JSO. There are a lot of costs associated with the body camera program. The last thing I want to do is establish a camera program and, with just a few officers. I don't want to do that. I don't want to establish one that I have to, decommission a year later because I don't have any sustained funding to keep it going. So we've had conversations about that. We've talked to the city about that, the mayor's office, about where the priorities are. But clearly, as our budget, the budget ship rights itself, and we get in a better budget position, body cameras will be part of the equation. So, and I think a body camera in this instant, we've got a lot of camera footage, but it's good to see what camera footage can bring you. I still believe that we're going to get with body cameras, 99.9% of the time, we're going to get a lot of good officers doing a lot of great work. And that other percentage, we need to see that anyway, so we can take action on it like we did yesterday.
Last one? Anybody?
How do you say his name? The officer's name.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Thank you.